Hey yo, DuckOfTheStarz here. Before I get started, I just wanted to thank all of you guys. Um, my previous video, my game console collection, I set a 50 view goal in order to get this video right here. I expected that to happen within a month, if that. It happened in less than 24 hours. In fact, I think it hit 50 views, or it was right upon 50 views before the video stopped premiering, which is amazing and really did inspire me to make this video. I feel like I would have held it off a lot longer had I not saw how great that video performed. So thank you guys so much. Speaking of both the last video and this video, if you haven't seen that, I'm going to recommend that. I'll probably put a card in here somewhere, just so that you guys can go see that at your earliest convenience. And if you like either that one or this one or both, I would highly appreciate it if you guys liked the video, subscribed, and maybe leave a comment as well if you enjoyed it that much. It really does mean a lot to me, and it really motivates me to push out more of these videos. I'll get into other stuff in another video. However, this is a big day because I get to finish off my physical collection. So I will give you a heads up. I was actually a huge Nintendo fanboy until quite recently. So all of my handheld consoles are Nintendo. So if you're a big Sony fan or big Sega fan when it comes to those, I'm sorry, but that's not going to be in this video. Trust me, I'm looking for a PSP and a Vita and a Game Gear, a Nomad, all that stuff. Unfortunately, I just haven't found one for a decent enough price yet to warrant, actually buying it. So without further ado, we're gonna get right into this, and we're gonna start with the OG Game Boy. I'm gonna be careful not to show my face. I had to blur it out a couple times last time. Not wanting to do that again. And of course, all these shiny screens are gonna make it really hard to do that, but I'm gonna do my best. So this is an OG Game Boy. It's a fucking brick. First off, it's huge, but of course for someone with the big hands like myself, this is actually almost the ideal model. This is the one that only played in black and green. I'd show you, but as you'll be able to see, there's no way you can possibly see the screen, and we'll get to that in just a moment. So I'm going to show off all the models I have of the OG Game Boy first, and right away, let's see. Yeah, I'll leave this up like that. Next up we have the Game Boy Pocket. Obviously a much smaller model. It's actually closer to the size of a DS or even a smartphone. This is well, yeah, I guess that would be the size of a smartphone. Again, still have the same screen issue. However, didn't seem to be a problem for a lot of people. These guys as a group sold very, very, very well. Okay, not seeing my face there. And a cool little version I have the Japanese only Game Boy Light. This guy did not sell well. I think that it's hard to calculate. I think there's only around 100,000 of these ever sold. Either way, they're really damn expensive. I got mine for a decent enough price, but even this one's not in the best of condition anymore, unfortunately. But the coolest part about this, and I'm going to actually turn off my light for this, is a backlit, maybe it was frontlit, no, I think it was backlit Game Boy. The only one to do so until the GBASP, which came like over half a decade later. So I'm going to turn these off real quick. And so this is one of the few Game Boys you're going to see with backlit compatibility. None of the other OG Game Boy models had this without a mod, of course. It's also a really nice, relaxing blue rather than a disgusting green or just a bright white, which I think a lot of people appreciate as well. I'd say this is probably my coolest part of my handheld collection. People might agree or disagree with me. on that, but I rest my case. This thing is really cool and a really nice piece of history to own. I'm gonna leave these guys out like this. Oh, and looks like we're gonna do some blur editing, so might as well just put them all on display. Fantastic. We're just gonna put them all on display for now. As for the games, my Game Boy collection, not very impressive. Oops. Sorry, I'm not trying to make a big scene here. So I'll start like this. First off, I have Donkey Kong Land. This is kind of a, I guess a handheld version of Donkey Kong Country, although that did also come back out later on a different console, the Game Boy Color, which I'll obviously show off too. But when Donkey Kong Country first came out on the Super Nintendo, they released this game so that Game Boy owners could also experience a handheld Donkey Kong adventure. A lot of people have mixed feelings on it, myself included. You know, it's not the greatest platformer, but it's pretty impressive, especially for a Game Boy game. Game & Watch Gallery 3. This is a collection of Game & Watch games, or a bunch of 3-bit LCD games. Of course, I think maybe I'm mixing up LCD with something else. Essentially, it was a bunch of very basic games, the kind of stuff you can program on a calculator, you know. And that was actually part of the inspiration for both the Game Boy and the Game & Watch. Next we have Kirby's Dream Land. This is the first Kirby game ever released, and as you can see right here, he was actually envisioned as white before he was pink. That partially had to do with the fact that these guys had no color to them. We got Pac-Man. It's Pac-Man. I'm not gonna go over that one too much because I don't think it needs much of an explanation. We have a Japanese version of Pokemon. I guess that would be Pokemonster Midori. I believe that's green. Someone can correct me on that if I'm wrong. However, this guy, we had Pokemon Blue, Yellow, and Red, but never Green. So I grabbed this because I thought it was cool. Of course, Pokemon was a huge thing on every every game console that released, and especially the Game Boy versions were super important back in the 90s. As a non-90s kid, I can confirm this. Speaking of which, Pokemon Blue. As you can see, this one had a blue cartridge. Of course, Pokemon Red had the red cartridge. Japanese versions didn't have that. Kind of blows, but at the same time, I like the dedication to the gray aesthetic here. One thing I will say, actually, before I keep going, is that on these colored cartridges, usually that meant they worked to some capacity on the Game Boy Color, introducing more than just 4 basic colors, or at least they had a special scheme to go with them. And I also have Pokemon Gold. My battery died on this one, unfortunately. I need to get back into playing it, but it's really hard when all your save progress goes and you've already beaten the main campaign. Okay, then I have Super Mario Land, one of the launch titles on the Game Boy, and one of the more interesting titles. Since it was early, 1989, it didn't look very good. Retrospectively, I think we can all say that. But even still, it's still a really fun platformer game. And to go with the vision of a Game Boy being like a calculator, it really reminds you of a calculator style game that you could play on like a TI-84 today. Last but not, certainly not least, is Tetris. I don't think this really needs any explanation either. This is the OG Tetris, so I don't think I'm really going to need to explain anything there. I do actually have a Game Shark. I found this while digging up all my games, and I just wanted to show it off because I think it's pretty cool. Of course, this would just plug right into the back of the Game Boy. You'd actually plug your game in right here, so it actually looks pretty janky, if you ask me. So your whole setup's going to look like that, just so everyone knows that you're a filthy cheater. I rest my case. I'm not a big fan of cheats in games, unless, of course, they're games like Tetris. They're not gonna make you overpowered for life. So I'm going to actually leave these out. I feel like it makes sense, because next I'm going to show you guys the Game Boy Color. Of course, this one is purple. I know there were colored Game Boy Pockets, I believe OG Game Boys as well, but I don't think there was ever a gray Game Boy Color, just to solidify, hey, this thing plays in color. This was actually the first Game Boy I had, so I personally really like the design of it. Okay. And do have a couple more games to go with it. There's a reason I put it separated from the others, and that is because, sorry, I'm trying to get these without making the mic sound super loud. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I only have 4 games on the Game Boy Color. My Game Boy collection is pretty lackluster, except for the systems themselves. I'm really proud of these, or I guess all of these guys. The Game Boy Color had their own specific games, and you can tell them apart because this will be a gray cartridge with a concave logo that says Nintendo Game Boy. A Game Boy Color game will be clear with a convex Game Boy Color logo. So it's not going to say Game Boy on here. It's going to say Game Boy Color. If it says Nintendo Game Boy instead of Game Boy Color, it's a fake. Don't buy it. Okay, so as for these games, I guess we'll go ahead and start. Harry Potter. Of course, grabbing all the essentials here. Harry Potter was RPG on this. Funny enough, you know, you'd think it'd be like a, I don't know what you'd expect Harry Potter to be on a Game Boy, but this is the second game, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. You know, funny enough, this one isn't called like the Sorcerer's Stone or Philosopher's Stone, as you'd think it would be. It's just called Harry Potter. I guess at this point they just didn't know whether it was profitable enough to make games. Clearly by now they know. And this, actually, 2 fun facts here. The only game I have more than just a cartridge for. When I got it, it came with the manual. Not the case, just the manual. I don't know how that happened, but of course this is actually one of the cheapest manuals you can ever find, coincidentally. This, I believe, was also the last game, at least in the US, to release on the Game Boy Color. So this should have been, I think, 2001. Just a cool fact for you there. Otherwise, I have Spider-Man on the Game Boy Color. Obviously, it's just called Spider-Man. Just no Spider-Man on PS4, no Spider-Man Miles Morales, but it's a fun little beat 'em up to play on the side. And then, of course, Super Mario Brothers Deluxe. This is actually one of the go-to games when people talk about Game Boy Color games, because essentially it's just a nicer looking version of the OG Mario Brothers, and a lot of people contest whether it's better or not. It's Mario Bros, or it's Super Mario Bros. Like, it's not big a deal, most people. Okay, and then last but certainly, actually, yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Last but certainly not least, in my hardware collection, I have the Game Boy Advance. Certainly a different style of Game Boy. Of course, it has a left and right bumper. This was actually like the legit successor to the Game Boy in the Game Boy Color, and this was in 2001, right as the GameCube came out too. So this was a rare experience Nintendo had, where they had a handheld and a console release at the same time. So I can't really show this off here, but you really did have a lot of compatibility with this in the GameCube. They worked with each other in mind. Of course, they're even the same shade of purple, or indigo, whatever you choose to call it. I'm actually going to put this on here. Nope, that showed my face. Okay, fantastic. More blurring for me. Yay. Okay, let's see if I can grab these. Oh, I don't want to destroy your ears, so I'm sorry if I bump something. Of course, once again, my Game Boy Advance lineup is even sadder, to say the least. I'm not especially proud of it. What can you do though, right? So, oh, I swear to God, I'm missing one. All the way over there, really, man? Gonna make me work for my collection videos. Okay. Sorry about that little wait there. First off, I have Mario Kart Super Circuit. This is the first portable Mario game. Really shows. It's quite similar to the OG Super Mario Kart, which of course does not really stand the test of time well. This one even less so, but it's still cool little piece of history to own. I have Pac-Man collection. This one I believe actually came from my girlfriend's collection. When we moved in together, we just sort of combined all of ours. And of course, by all of ours, I mean mostly. I believe I showed off a PS2 game that she owned, but other than that, it's all handheld stuff. And still, I got the bigger collection. Just saying. We got Pac-Man World. This actually originally came out on PS1. It was ported to GBA. Obviously, the PS1 game runs better, but it's cool to see a 3D platformer run on a 16-bit console. I didn't really think I'd get to see that. Here we have a copy of Pokemon Emerald. Unfortunately, I found out that this is a reproduction copy. So it's a piece of junk in a collector's mind. What is real, however, is Pokemon Fire Red. This actually came out of my girlfriend's collection as well. So unfortunately not my own, but still a cool game to show off. And lastly, also from her collection, she played a lot of GBA and DS games, evidently, is Yu-Gi-Oh! What is this? Trials of Glory. I've been told this is actually a really good game for Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of my friends actually pirated that. I don't condone piracy. Say that now. Hey, Nintendo, don't sue me. Don't shut down my videos. Piracy bad. But that's how they say they all got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself. So I guess if you're looking to get into it, maybe it's time to buy a Game Boy Advance. And that'll be it for the Game Boy line, actually. I don't have a Micro or an SP. Again, I've been looking for those, but turns out a lot of people are looking for them too. So I can't really get away with that. Okay. Trying to put these guys away. To those of you who do own Game Boys, just to spark a little bit of conversation, to anyone who's still watching, you know, like what, or if you grew up with a Game Boy, what games did you play? I'm always open to suggestions, and I love to find more games that aren't just Super Mario Land or Wario Land. I know, especially with GBA, I want to play those Metroid games before Dread comes out. Those of you watching in the future, let me know how it is. However, you know, it's so expensive to get into GBA and I guess especially DS collecting now. Speaking of DS, this is where we are. We're gonna start with the original DS Fat model. We're gonna make sure I don't get my face in here. Not today. Okay, so first off, we have very clicky buttons. I'm gonna say this right now, as an adult with very large hands, this is the preferred model of DS that I like to use, other than, you know, one of the XL models. I think for a lot of other adults, they would prefer this as well, and it does make sense because the DS, when it was released in 2004, was originally marketed more towards a teen adult audience, if I remember correctly. It was, some of those ads were very mature. I believe like their slogan was "touching is good," so it's clearly you know, meant for kids, of course, as all Nintendo consoles are, but they were marketing for an adult group, which is pretty unlike the Game Boy. Hell, it's in the name, Game Boy. But this is the fat model, and of course it has this little strap too. But of course, when you look at this, you say, oh, this really doesn't seem like it's gonna work well for kids. You know, this is the GBA in comparison. It's the same size, but this one's so much clunkier, and I don't know, I think a lot of kids were not enthused by it. So they created their answer, the DS Lite. And this was actually my first ever console that I bought for myself. And these buttons are a lot mushier, in my opinion, looking back at this at a retrospective. But of course, I can't diss on the first console I ever owned. This thing is great. If you have one, I'd say keep it. You know, I'm gonna say keep it to everything, but especially for like one of these models or one of these models, any DS model, these are going up in price. If you're trying to sell it, wait like 5 years, and I guarantee you you're gonna get a much better deal selling these. Other than that, it just looks super slick, honestly. So slick, in fact, that it's showing my face again. It means that I get to do more editing. Fantastic. Next on the list is the DSi. I don't remember what the I stood for. I actually have a stylus. Speaking of stylus, this was something that was introduced in this area. Because the DS had a touchscreen, one of the things you were supposed to do was tap it. Of course, a lot of games supported that, and we got a lot of cool series out of it. But yes, this is a DSi actually from Japan. Most of these games were, I believe, region unlocked, except for DSi exclusives or DSi enhanced games. I know for sure I can play all my DS games, or practically all my DS games on here. And so this is actually a really good deal if you're asking me. DSi, of course, is going to be a little more expensive than the light or the fat model, but it's definitely a lot more premium than the last two. It feels like an actual device from the mid-2000s or from the late 2000s, as opposed to this, which feels a little bit dated. But even still, this looks sleek. I personally always loved the design of the DSi. Of course, Nintendo knew that all of us grown-ups wanted something too, so they made the DSi XL, which is just like the DSi, but big. This one's also from Japan. This is actually one of my favorite models as well. It does so much right. Not much else I can say other than that. Just that this and the DSi, I might actually put the DSi on here. I'd say this is like the definitive model. As long as you have a Game Boy Advance. One thing I will say, these two models actually had GBA backwards compatibility. As you can see right here, plug your game carts right into them. Can't do that with these. They were initially going to keep that in place, but I think it was just too expensive for them to do that. Nevertheless, you know, both or all models are good ideas to own. With that being said, let's get into the games before I go on a rant about DS models and where I stand on each and every one of them. Okay. And this is where the games get crazy, because this is what I grew up with. Much like the Wii, this is where my stuff gets crazy. First off, something that's actually pretty new to my DS collection is Animal Crossing Wild World. I'm going to show off the case as well. Oop, come on. It's so hard to do when I'm trying to show off and not look all awkward. Anyways, this is your typical case. Comes with manual, DS. There's actually a GBA slot here for all your GBA games. I never really used that. Probably would have been a better idea for me too. But when people make custom GBA cases, they'll often use these boxes because of that slot. Yes, this is Animal Crossing Wild World. We got a Brain Age. As you can see, this is my very shoddy attempt at making a custom case. I had a lot of loose games. A lot of people didn't see the need to keep these cases, which is a dumb idea. Always keep your cases. But because of that, I have to figure out a way to print these in a good manner. One that doesn't look like this, because if you see that little cut right there, not very nice looking. I'm still perfecting that though. That'll come eventually. Maybe I'll even make a video on how to do it, or how I did it. Here I straight up just didn't do that at all. And this game is, oh okay, it's Brain Age 2. Brain Age, honestly, is a pretty fun little like mini game set where you do little math problems, or I think English problems as well. I know that on the DSi, and especially this one, because this is also from Japan, I have a bunch of Japanese games pre-installed. And they are of Brain Age, so I get to learn a little bit of Japanese too. Quite fun. And these are perhaps two of the best games of all time. I believe this is Club Penguin Elite Penguin Force and Club Penguin Herbert's Revenge. My bad. If you guys knew Club Penguin, and if you knew me back in the day, dude, I loved Club Penguin. So these are no-brainers. They're point-and-click adventures, very short, but if you grew up in my generation, meaning you grew up with Club Penguin, And I totally recommend these. It's such a nostalgia blast. So much fun. You actually play through a lot of the original missions that you would play on the website too. So if you missed that, like I do, please bring Club Penguin back, Disney. I miss it so much. Anyways, those are 2 great games if you're looking for point-and-click adventures. Of course, gotta have the mandatory Garfield game on here, Garfield's Fun Fest. I don't remember much about this. I think it was a 2D platformer. If I remember correctly, it looks really good. And if you also remember, I talked about a game, Garfield Caught in the Act, on the Sega Genesis. It has that same kind of art style. So you're going to see a game that looks a lot like a Sega Genesis game, which is really nice to see, because obviously it's much more polished than a game created 10, 15 years before. Okay, now this game is a Harry Potter game, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. They didn't stop making these. Remember my last video, I showed off Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1. These came out with every single movie. All of them were pretty mediocre at best. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we have 2 Lego games. This will be Lego Battles. Of course, this is the Ninjago version. Because I was cool like that, dude. If you diss on Lego Ninjago in front of me, you will be prepared for a ass beating of your life. This game wasn't very good, though. That being said, Lego Indiana Jones, yeah, I was gonna say the original Adventures, I believe. While it's better on a console, I'm not going to give this much disrespect. This is actually the game I got when I first purchased my DS Lite, because it was cheap. I believe this was only $20. New Super Mario Brothers was, oh boy, $30. And so, of course, to have a game to play on it, I got this. And I did have a lot of fun with it. Of course, all Lego games were a blast back in the day. See, what's this guy? Oh, this is Lego Star Wars 3. This is a game I wanted to get. Funny enough, I walked out of the store that day with Super Mario All-Stars Limited Edition. But of course, a game I got much later, and it's, again, like any Lego game. I can't not recommend most Lego games, and you'll see what I mean with that in a little bit, because the DS's successor, the 3DS, had plenty of those issues. Okay, now a game I certainly can recommend, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. If you like Vor, this is a good one for you. Other than that, it's a great RPG. I can't believe I never played this until last year, but oh my god, it is so much fun. The music's great, the characters are great. If you've never played an RPG before, this isn't too hard to get into. So you gotta do it, man. I'm telling you, DuckOfTheStarz recommends 10 out of 10 right there. Actually got Mario Kart DS. Box is looking pretty beat up, mine specifically. That just means because I used it a lot. It's Mario Kart. I can't like not recommend Mario Kart. Such a great series in general. Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say. Everyone knows Mario Kart at this point. And the DS installment is certainly not bad. Got some killer tunes and a great single player mode. As weird as that might sound. This one is, oh, it's My Japanese Coach. If you don't like learning languages, don't get this game. If you like learning languages, still probably don't get this game. I really just got it for, I think it was $1, so I could get a 5 for 5 deal at a store. But if you're like a complete beginner at learning languages, and for some reason you don't have access to an app like Duolingo, then I can see the reason for getting a game like this. Otherwise, you know, it's sort of just a shovelware nowadays. Of course, we got a new Super Mario Brothers. This is the OG version of that. The old new Super Mario Bros. Came with a lot of mini games too. Great time. Of course, you know, everyone who had a DS owned this game. So if you have a DS and don't, get on it. Great 2D platformer, great multiplayer game, great everything. A lot of people say it didn't have personality. I disagree. I think the OG, any of them, has a lot of personality. I loved playing. What's this guy? Pokemon Black. This is a game I got at GameStop when it was like 25 bucks. Definitely don't regret that one. All Pokemon games, I'm gonna warn you, on the DS and now starting on the 3DS too, are getting so expensive. So if you want him, get him like right now, or else you're never gonna be able to find him for a decent price. I've seen this at my local game store for 90 bucks. Great game though. Of course, all Pokemon games are a must-have. Because I have Pokemon Black, obviously also have to have Pokemon Black 2. This one is actually like fully complete in box. If you're willing to just get cartridges, first off, but second off, you're gonna have a lot better time finding these. It'll only be like $80-$90, still crazy amount for these games. But this is gonna, I think Black 2 and White 2 alone are gonna run you like 120, 130 bucks. It's ridiculous, and I hope they put, well, Nintendo can't really put an end to it. I hope it ends soon so that it at least stays at a fixed price. Otherwise, nobody's gonna be able to enjoy these games, and everyone deserves to. I have a copy of Pokemon Diamond right here. Diamond actually is not super rare, I don't think, at the moment. I got mine for around 40-50 bucks. Definitely get them while you can though, because they are going to go up. They're going to keep going up. Unfortunately, the fun fact about this one, I really am not sure why, but the version that I got came with 2 manuals. Just a funny little story. Don't know why they had 2 manuals for the game, but I guess that means that a copy somewhere is missing a manual. Oh great, here's some of my great experimenting skills with these new case cover arts. Pokemon Heart Gold, actually one of the best deals I ever got, both Heart Gold and Soul Silver for $5 each at a garage sale. That's not going to be the case. Heart Gold and Soul Silver are the most expensive Pokemon games, I think, period. They're going to run you, I think, especially if complete in box, I think around 150 to 200, if I'm not mistaken. It is ridiculous. This one, it's a Pokemon game. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, I believe it's Blue Rescue Team. I don't know. This was actually at the same garage sale. Of course, this is obviously not, here, let me see if I can get a closer up of that. Obviously not in the best condition. I think this one works on and off. I guess I can tell a little funny story about this too. This wasn't working. I was getting mad at it, so I dumped a bottle of rubbing alcohol on it. Or like I just spilled a bunch of it on it, sort of out of rage. Getting ready to call it and declare it junk, suddenly started working again. I've been working on it for half an hour, but as soon as I dumped that all that rubbing alcohol in it, somehow started working again. So don't take that as advice. Don't do that. Like I'm warning you, that's dumb luck. Very, very dumb luck at that. Coming up next, Pokemon Pearl. This is actually my girlfriend's game. So she helped me complete the generation, I believe it's Gen 4 Pokemon games. Look how shiny these are. I love this so much about all the Gen 4 games, is that they had such a nice little shine. Actually, is that? Okay, it's just a bunch of random shapes. I thought they were in shapes like Pokeballs and stuff. That would have been much cooler, but leave a like if you're also hyped for the remakes, which I will be hopefully playing through on live with my girlfriend. Of course, we're going to pick up Diamond and Pearl, probably respective to whichever game we owned previously. Lastly, Pokemon Platinum. We're still shiny, as always. What's cool about this version, though, is that this was a for display only case. Or at least the box art was. And so that's a pretty funny story behind that, because under that, there's like a typical GameStop, I guess, temporary cover art there. So I don't really know what happened, of course, because I got this used on eBay. But what I can presume is that the person went in and tried to get the game. The person at the GameStop counter said, oh, well, we have this cover art in the back, and we'll get it all boxed up for you. And so this is how I end up with a, pretty sure it's a pretty rare version of Pokemon Platinum. Already a rare game to come across because of, again, it being Pokemon. Of course, as I mentioned, I do have Pokemon Soul Silver. Yeah, this is like full on complete in box too. Sadly, the Heart Gold and Mystery Dungeon games weren't, but I think Soul Silver is the most expensive of the Pokemon games, although it might be surpassed by White now. Fortunately, I don't have the Pokewalker, which was a little pedometer that came with the game. Actually, another fun fact, it was named the world's most accurate pedometer for a while. That's just a cool little tidbit. That ends the Pokemon collection. I believe I'm only missing White and White 2 out of the mainline games. Of course, that's only is no... nothing to be messed with, because clearly it's not really just only. Moving on, I have Star Wars The Clone Wars. This was, I believe it was a touch-oriented game. Yeah, if you look here, a lot of heavy stylus movements. So I'm not too big a fan. I never finished that game, but I probably should for my dear mother who bought it for me. Okay, getting towards the end of the stack here, we have Super Mario 64 DS. Definitely the more affordable version of Super Mario 64, other than maybe 3D All-Stars if you have a Switch. I got this in like 2015. They were still selling it with the 3DS, so there are plenty of copies to go around. Of course, it's Super Mario 64, fantastic game. And you can play as Luigi, Wario, and Yoshi as well. It's different in that way, and I believe there are a lot more stars to collect. 30 more. Here I have Super Scribblenauts. Scribblenauts is a great game, specifically made, I think, for the DS, where you would type something in, and the character would draw it in normally. Obviously, you can't draw certain things that were vulgar, obscene, or weren't made in that time. Like, you probably could draw a DS. I don't know if you... Well, I actually don't know if you could. You obviously can't, like, write iPhone and an iPhone come up. Probably write mobile phone and an old flip phone would pop up, but got to keep that in mind when playing this. That's one of my downfalls with it. And lastly, from my girlfriend's collection, once again, the Simpsons game, which came out on a lot of platforms, and I believe the DS is probably one of the more lackluster versions of the game. But I wouldn't know because it's her game, so I've never really bothered to touch it, just out of fear of fucking with her save data is the best way to put that. But that's all the DS games I have, which is shocking given that the DS was a huge part of my life from, I believe, maybe I guess even second grade to, like, when did the 3DS come out? Maybe, I guess it would be fourth grade. It really was only 2 years. But then, of course, I kept getting DS games after that because, one, they worked on the 3DS. 2, I never got rid of my DS. This is the original DS that I purchased when I was 9-10 years old. However, it's time to move past the DS, which I unfortunately had to do by fourth grade because of Nintendo releasing... One moment. Drum roll, please. The Nintendo 3DS. A DS with 3D capabilities. And great, that's my face again. So I'm just going to leave this right here. We're going to blur it. Yeah, so this one actually is broken. Unfortunately, the 3D depth slider is not working all that well. And so this is that right there. And you turn the 3D mode on and off if you so choose. I know a lot of people chose to have it off, but on the original model, I always thought the 3D was really good. So I tend to keep it on. That's why I'm so distraught that it was broken. This is also the one I kept, by the way, when I was a very, very young kid. Okay, so that's the OG 3DS. I do have a couple models of it. I have a Nintendo 2DS, which is a 3DS that can't play games in 3D. So for future note, if you did not know this, when someone says a 2DS, they do not mean one of these models. They mean this, a 3DS that can play all the 3DS games, all the regular DS games, but it won't play them in 3D mode. As you can tell, this is the only one without a hinge too, which I know people hated. I'm not really a big fan of it either, but I do know a couple people that really enjoyed it, so it's all up to your personal preference. So again, this is a 2DS. This is not. This is what we would call a regular DS. This is a 2DS. Just making sure y'all know the difference. We are educational here on the Duck of the Stars channel. Let's actually do that just outward. Last but not least, I have what's called a new 3DS, if that's not confusing enough already. So here we are. Same kind of deal, except the volume is now on here. And as you can see, this wasn't on the original 3DS. There's a little bit of a 3D stick. So it's similar to what you would have on an average game controller. But this is just more like a stick. It also has ZR and ZL buttons, which are Nintendo's way of saying like left trigger, right trigger, or I believe it's R2, L2 on PlayStation. I guess it should be called bumpers here as well. But this is an XL console, and I will say it's not like a traditional 3DS where it's just the XL model. They did just have a 3DS XL, but then they released in 2015, around 4 years after the 3DS's release, they made the new 3DS. Really confusing name, really stupid name. But the 3DS, or the new 3DS, had what was called 3D face tracking. One of the problems with this was that you could only hold it right in front of you. If you moved it, the 3D wouldn't turn off. Well, it wouldn't turn off, but you wouldn't be able to see it at all. With this, you can move your face, or you can move the DS or your face slightly to the side, obviously not too far, and the camera will actually track you and align the 3D to meet your eyes. Cool technology, clever way of Nintendo spying on you. I kid, hopefully. But this was actually a lot more powerful than this machine was too. There are a couple games, I do have one, that were only made for this model, not for these two. You couldn't play it on this, only on this. Minecraft happens to be one of those games, but I don't have Minecraft on new 3DS. There really isn't a reason to. I might pick it up just because I, of course, was a huge Minecraft fan. Who wasn't? Okay. All the 3DS games. Let's do this actually the same way that we had DS games line. We'll do half here, half here. Okay, and we're gonna start with the Angry Birds trilogy. So I guess for those of you who weren't in my generation, or I guess those of you who are younger specifically, Angry Birds in 2011, 2012 was the hit game to have on your phone or on your iPod, iPad, whatever. So they ported it to 3DS, and I believe Wii U as well, which I'm guessing is probably on all platforms, but this one actually worked pretty well. Of course, really probably not worth like the 20-30 bucks it costs, but hey, it's Angry Birds. Can't really complain too much about that. You get what you signed up for. 2 Animal Crossing games on the 3DS. This one, okay, yeah, this one right here is Animal Crossing New Leaf. That was your mainline Animal Crossing game. This one was Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer, which was specifically to help sell the Amiibo cards. And Amiibo is something I'll get to that at the end of the video. That might be the thing I do next, collection-wise, because I do have a lot of those I'd love to show off. Yeah, Animal Crossing, very calm game. Obviously, a lot of people are playing New Horizons, but New Leaf has its merits too. Don't forget about it if you're trying to find a copy of New Horizons. TB Robo Ziplash. Nope. Moving on. Another similar thing to Angry Birds, actually, and I think I got this in the same year. It was like these were both birthday gifts kind of bundled in together, is the Doodle Jump Adventures. Once again, for those of you younger than I am who never grew up in the wild times of the first iPhones, iPads, and iPods, Doodle Jump was a free, I'm sure it still is a free app. Downloaded, you basically have this little guy right here. I believe his name is Doodle, or maybe it was I think it is just Doodle. Constantly jumping. You just have to maneuver him from platform to platform to make sure he doesn't fall off and die. Cute little game. I remember having a lot of fun with it. This is actually like a real deluxe package. There are a lot more events that you'd get than in a normal game of Doodle Jump. But of course, once again, it's like a glorified app. You don't really need the $20 version if you have the the free version on your iPod. Here we have Fire Emblem Fates Birthright. I believe Fates was the big game after Awakening. Fire Emblem games are really hard to come across. Very niche series, which is weird because it's a turn-based RPG, and I really enjoyed them. I found, I believe it was maybe Conquest recently, and I'm really upset that I didn't go back and get it. I'm mad at myself for it. Anyways, this is Birthright, and this was one of two, I believe, games, and you'd play in the same universe just on different sides of a war. You haven't actually got around to playing this one, so I can't for sure tell you that. Next, we have Kirby Triple Deluxe, one of two Kirby games on here. I'm usually told that this is like the lesser of the two, but I really enjoyed it. I mean, it's Kirby, it's real easy, except for the final boss. That was a very huge jump from like super easy to suddenly very, very, very hard. Or at least that's how I remember it as a kid. Okay, now we're getting the Lego stuff. Lego Batman 3 Beyond Gotham. I had this on Wii U, if you recall, so I never played it on 3DS. In fact, I think my parents got me both the 3DS and Wii U version one birthday, which is funny. I thought them, of all people, would know that you don't buy the same game on two different places. So here I have Lego Harry Potter. Here's years 5 through 7. You know, this is still like a classic Lego game. I think this was where, for a while, they started differing from all the console releases. But I still played through it all, and I had a blast as a kid. But some of these games got kind of out of hand. So when Lego Marvel Superheroes came out on Wii U and obviously Xbox 360 and I think One, PS3, PS4, all those mainline console versions, they released Lego Marvel Superheroes Universe in Peril, which is a much different game. I don't think you can even jump in it. It's a lot more focused around being a beat 'em up. This was the era where Lego games on the 3DS were kind of bad. Obviously a vastly inferior game to the actual Lego Marvel Superheroes. That's probably just because this guy couldn't handle the real deal, as unfortunate as it is. And the same thing goes with The Hobbit. Actually, I remember being able to at least jump this, but this was getting to a point where Lego games were getting pretty fairly inferior on handhelds as opposed to consoles. I think that all culminated in the Lego, it's Lego the Lego Movie, the video game. Or no, I'm sorry. Lego the Lego Movie video game. That's a mouthful right there. I'm shocked this sold at all. Can't see why you just can't call it the Lego Movie video game. I played about like 5 minutes of this, realized I couldn't jump, and I said, okay, I'm not gonna play the rest of it. So I can't recommend it, but hey, maybe you can find some fun that I didn't out of it. Oh, great, we're getting to the second part. We're still not even done with Lego games. Lego Lord of the Rings. Can you tell I liked Legos growing up? I guess what kid really didn't? But this was, I believe, also one of the last few games that was really like on par, and it definitely wasn't like similar to the console releases, but at least it was acceptable to my child mind. Still probably would recommend the console versions by far. Moving on, we have two Luigi's Mansion games, which is crazy. I'm gonna show this one first, even though I believe, this one comes later alphabetically because this is Luigi's Mansion 2. But really late into the 3DS's life. So this is like even after the new 3DS was released. They released a remake of the original. You can tell it's a late release because it has this little red band here from when Nintendo changed their logo. Thanks, Nintendo Switch. This is a full-on remake in the engine of this game. So I really like this. If you've never played the original Luigi's Mansion, it's really expensive on GameCube, although I think it's similar in price on 3DS, ironically. However, playing this in 3D is so cool. That's partially because this game was originally supposed to be played in stereoscopic 3D, if I remember correctly. The GameCube Nintendo had experimented on the GameCube with 3D technology, but it was too expensive at the time. Here it wasn't, so this is really them kind of realizing that dream they had all those years ago. As for the second game, a lot of people said that they didn't really like it. And I can see why. It's a very different game. Luigi's Mansion was originally a very open, well, not really open world. It's linear, but you follow in basically one huge mansion. There are 5 mansions in this, and this is all mission based. So I can see why people don't like it for that. But I, as someone who ordered this for day one, of course, really enjoyed it. There's a lot to be loved that I think people don't see, so I recommend getting it. Here we have Mario Kart 7. Again, it's Mario Kart. Any Mario Kart is recommendable, especially any modern ones. I hear 7 get a lot of shit, but I played this for over 200 hours, so I can't really say anything all that negative about it. Mario Party Island Tour, probably one of the few Mario Party games I wouldn't recommend, and that's simply because, if I remember correctly, it's just not all that fun. Obviously, Mario Party is a party game meant to be multiplayer, playing so on a 3DS, a handheld console meant for one person, isn't going to really translate all that well. But on top of that, they were having issues with Mario Party at the time anyways, so we get stuck with that. If you're a retro fan, you'll like this one, the Mega Man Legacy Collection. I believe this was, yeah, all 6 original, or all the first 6. There weren't just 6 Mega Man games, definitely not. But the original 6 Mega Man games, all coming out on one cartridge, which was also really neat. Definitely recommend it if you're into Mega Man. If not, I think you can just find them somewhere else cheaper. Probably on the Switch, honestly. Next, we have New Super Mario Bros. 2. A lot of people have mixed feelings about this, I think myself included. I was excited to have a 2D Mario game on my 3DS when it first came out in 2012 or 13. So, yep, 2012. So I downloaded it on my 3DS day one, but I was a stupid kid and deleted my Nintendo Network ID, which meant I lost all my games. There are still games I still don't have back. That was very redundant. There are still games I don't have back. But this is obviously one that I do, and I'm really happy for it because as far as 2D platformers go, this is probably one of the best on the 3DS. And having the coin gimmick actually really made the game feel unique. As you can see, there are a lot of coins on this menu, or on this box art, my bad. And even a golden fire flower right there. One of the new power-ups in this game, which, again, the coin counter made it really fun. I just wish they did a little more with the whole idea of coin collection. Paper Mario Sticker Star, another game we're just going to ignore because it was not very good. Now we get into some of the stuff you guys probably want to see. Pokemon Moon to start off. This is Generation 7, if I remember correctly. This is the last generation I ever played of Pokemon. This is the last Pokemon game I ever played, period. I really want to get the sequels, and much like Black 2 and White 2, we had Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra. Those did not sell too well, though, if I remember correctly, so they're pretty expensive. However, of course, any Pokemon game I can recommend, even on 3DS, you know, as it went on, and people did complain a bit about how different it was getting. It was a very different game from the originals, but I think it was all in a good way. Okay. Pokemon Omega Ruby. This is a remake of Ruby and Sapphire, or Pokemon Ruby, which came out on the Game Boy Advance. Much like how Heart Gold and Soul Silver are remakes of Gold and Silver on the original Game Boy. And again, much like how Brilliant Diamond, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are remakes for the Switch of the DS games that I showed earlier. That's something Pokemon really likes to do. I think something the fans really like as well. So Omega Ruby, I really enjoyed this game. I really liked Generation 3 to begin with, so I think that helped a lot. But there's a lot to do in this game that you couldn't do in the originals. So you could tell that they really put in the effort to make this game the best that it could be. Lastly, we have Pokemon Y, which is Generation 6 of the series. They had X and Y. This is the one I hear the most complaints about, although people still, of course, love it. Is that the story was really, really short. But that's because they were getting used to a new art style. This was the first one where they didn't use a little pixel character and instead had actual 3D models running around for every single character. And so it definitely feels kind of experimentally in a way. Of course, this was 2013, right after the 3DS had come out. Yeah, it felt like a huge experiment, maybe like a tech demo, that really should have had a little more time put into it to make it feel like a full-fledged game. But of course, we're not objecting. This still was a fantastic game, and this is, I think, the game I put the most hours into. I believe it was around 200, 250. So clearly I cared about this game a lot. Next up, we have Scribblenauts Unlimited. This is a sequel, pretty direct sequel to Super Scribblenauts and then regular Scribblenauts on the original DS. This one actually came out for a lot of consoles too, but it's I think it's essentially the same game or the same type of game. A lot more to do, a lot more of a open world aspect, which makes sense for a game where you can create anything. Of course, can't have a 3DS collection without Super Mario 3D Land. The first 3D, well, I can't say that actually. Super Mario 64 DS was the first 3D Mario game on a handheld. This is the first original 3D Mario game on a handheld. It plays a lot like a 2D game, but of course that fits in a handheld. I really enjoyed this game growing up. This was 2011, not a launch title for the 3DS, but close enough. Totally worth the play. I promise you will not really get bored. I mean, there are obviously a couple levels in every game that are just no fun, but there's so much to do. 16 worlds, and some definitely tough challenges towards the end there. Next, I have Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS. This is the first version of Smash Bros. To be on a handheld. Of course, it was before Ultimate. You can argue the Switch is a handheld. I do for some variants, which we'll get to. So this is, this is the first Smash Bros. Game I ever played, or ever owned anyways. I've definitely played Brawl and Melee before, but this is the first one I ever owned. And, well, it, of course, is overshadowed by the Wii U version. I do say, if you want to get Smash 4, probably should get the Wii U version. There's just more to do. Looks a lot better. Same game, although this has a mode called Smash Run in it, which is similar to a Subspace Emissary level from Brawl. You're not going to get too much more out of it for that, but this is still definitely a worthy game to pick up. Even in 2021, I always loved it, so take my word for it. Any Smash game it's a blast, even when playing by yourself. I have a Yokai Watch. This was a game, I believe it was made by Nintendo. Yes, by Level 5 and Nintendo. Very similar to Pokemon, actually. I think it relies a little more heavily on the anime art style than Pokemon ever did. This one I've actually never played, despite the fact that I own it. I got it at a bargain bin, but I do have at least one friend. I know for a fact he's subscribed to this channel, and he has made videos with me in the past that he absolutely loved this. And there are actually 3 games, and similarly to Pokemon, I believe that the second game branched out into 2 games. It was like Fleshy Souls or Bony Spirits or something like that. There's also a 3rd game, which is very rare. I think it goes in the upper hundreds. Obviously not upper hundreds, not like $1,000, but I believe it was at least $100, maybe, if not reaching 200. So if you see the 3rd game for cheap, go for it, grab it. And as for these, I've had multiple friends tell me that these games are great. I mean, given they're similar to Pokemon, it's gonna mean that they're just as fun as Pokemon because it's made by Nintendo, same company. I feel like they kind of made this just in case that Game Freak ever backed out of their exclusivity to Nintendo, but I don't see that happening, frankly. That was Yokai Watch. Here we have Yoshi's New Island. I've heard a lot of bad things about this. I don't remember playing this too much. You know, I played through the whole game. This was actually one of the digital games that I got back after I deleted all my data. I don't really think it was all that bad. You know, people give it a lot of crap, but I think they do that because Yoshi's New Island sounds a lot like the new 3DS, which was just announced at this time. So people thought that it was going to be a whole new game, a whole new experience, but in reality, while they were all new levels and such, it felt really, really similar to the first game on the Super Nintendo. And the final boss was almost exactly the same, except with a little bit of a twist. So I think if anyone says to play Yoshi's Island game, it's going to be the first one. But this game, not these, not multiple games. This game I think is also it also has its merits. I don't think you should just completely avoid this. You know, I think all Yoshi games are fun in the same way that Kirby is. Of course, this is kind of alphabetical or unalphabetical. But I decided to put my new 3DS games separate from my 3DS games. So this is the only one I have. And as you can see, I'll pull down Yoshi's New Island again. When a new 3DS game was made, they moved the little bar up to the top. I never liked that. I guess it does give a new distinction. And it even says new 3DS. Just so that you know, let's see if I can home in. My camera's not that good, sorry. Yep, okay, you can see that. Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3D is a port of a Wii game. And that seemed to be the case with a lot of new 3DS games. They were made for ports that couldn't really handle the original 3DS hardware. So Minecraft was one of them. I know that Fire Emblem Warriors was the second one. Hyrule Warriors. Actually, was that one? I'll have to look that one up. I think Hyrule Warriors was also a new 3DS only. But these were all really good ports. Don't get me wrong. For a 3DS game, Xenoblade Chronicles 3D looks great because it's an open world RPG, something you really don't expect to see running well on a 3DS. However, I do think it's important to say you're not gonna miss out very much if you don't get a new 3DS. If you're looking for one and you only get a regular model, that's fine. I don't see any issue with because again, these are all ports. If you have a Wii with Xenoblade Chronicles already, if you have a Switch with Fire Emblem Warriors, if you have any platform with Minecraft, then there's really not too big a need to get one of these unless you want the upgraded performance. So like these will have significantly faster load times. Think the difference between like an Xbox Series X and a that's too much. The Xbox Series X is too fast. Think the Xbox One X and the original Xbox One, or the PS4 Pro and the original PS4. I think that's a good comparison to make. That actually does it for all of my 3DS games. That took a while. Actually, I do have one more little cool thing to show off. If you're a dirty cheater like myself sometimes, with games, of course, this is something you might want to pick up. This is Action Replay Power Saves. It took me a second to remember the name. It just says Power Saves on here. Similar to Game Shark, you plug your cartridge in here, but actually you're going to load this into a computer first. So you plug it in, there's a program you run, you download the cheats that you want into your game. So for instance, if I'm playing Pokemon and I want a Shiny Mewtwo, then I'll just put in the code for that and go back into my game. It'll be right there. Such a cool concept, but of course you lose all your gamer dignity the second you plug the cartridge into it. So it's a huge dilemma for everyone. That being said, that was my 3DS collection. Definitely tell I grew up with that one. But we're not done quite yet. Got two smaller things to show off. Of course, I'm going to show off my Nintendo Switch Lite. I didn't get to show off in my console collection. I think I just forgot to, frankly, and I would have put it in there. However, this is handheld only. So I guess it does really fit into this video too. This is the gray model. It's $100 cheaper than a regular Switch, but you don't get to plug it into a dock, which is kind of a shame. This is a really cool concept, and I think if they made a little mini dock, a lot more people would have bought it. I certainly would have bought it a lot faster than I did. But it's really nifty, really ergonomic, obviously, as it's a handheld, and honestly, a lot of these feel better than a average Switch. Having the D-pad really helps. And the very last thing I want to show off, going back to the concept of Game & Watch. I don't have any of the OG Game & Watches. Those are really expensive nowadays. But I do have the Super Mario Brothers 35th anniversary. It was 35, right? Yeah, 35. Game & Watch console. And this is actually complete in box. One of the few consoles I still have with that feature. I'm just going to pull it out here real quick, just for you guys to see, because it is genuinely really cool. And there's actually one for The Legend of Zelda coming out this, I believe, this fall in November. I have to say it's November. Really reminiscent of the OG Game & Watch games. Really nice and shiny. Cool. I believe this is just metallic finish. But I think this is the smallest official way you can play. Oh yeah, of course it's dead. Smallest official way to play the original Mario Bros. And we'll actually run the first 2 games on here. Oh man, just got a smudge on that screen. Alright, well, I'm gonna just put this to the side for now, because you guys really don't need to see me put that away. I'll do that by myself. I'll spare you guys the trouble of seeing that. Thanks for tuning in. I'm shocked that it took an hour, but I guess I did do a lot more actual reviewing of each game. As far as my next video goes, in this series of collection show and tell, I believe, someone commented on my last video, said I should do, or I should show off my digital video game collection, which is a cool idea. I love the idea, but I need a little more time to figure out how I'm going to make that work. So my challenge here, and I'll put this in the description too, is that I'm going to say we should try and get this video to, I guess the other one's at 75. Let's make it a bit of a challenge. Oh, you know what? For now, let's do 75 views, and I'll upload a collection of all my Amiibo figures, which are what I guess you'd call toys to life. They're little collectible figurines that actually have in-game functionality too, so they have a little chip in their base, and you can tap them onto a screen like a Switch or Wii U gamepad or 3DS. New 3DS touchscreen. That's one of the features the new 3DS had that the original 3DS didn't. It accepted Amiibo functionality. Not too much other than that. Getting way too far ahead though. I will show those off, and that'll be a pretty long video too. Cool stuff. There's a lot to be shown there. So yeah, if we get to 75 views on this video, I'll go ahead and upload that. I'll probably pre-record it and upload it anyway, eventually. So there's not too much pressure on me as well. I thank you guys so much for getting to the end of the video. Again, if you really enjoyed it, please consider giving a like and subscribing if you're not already subbed. It really does mean the world to me, as I'm a very small YouTuber at this point. So everyone who subs and leaves a like and comments something, even if it's constructive criticism, I will definitely take that, as long as it's constructive. I will be very clear. I'm not going to take a, oh, you suck. Not taking that one lightly, but anything that helps me to grow is much appreciated, and then us to grow as a community as well would be really cool. Clearly, as this video has shown, people really like my game collection content stuff. So I'm gonna try and make more videos pertaining to that. However, I'm still gonna try and work on my live streams, whether that be with my girlfriend or if I'm just playing Hearts of Iron 4, or frankly any other game. I'm not gonna count off all those, obviously. Don't worry, I'm not changing my entire viewpoint on YouTube yet. Yeah, just keep in mind that I'm trying to figure out where I want this channel to go. And so I'm gonna see what you guys really want. And from this last video, it's very clear that you want more console style collection stuff, and I definitely want to do that. That's a hobby I have a great passion. And so you'll definitely be seeing more of that content in the future. For now, though, I should probably get going, as it is almost 4 in the morning. That's when I like to do my videos. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. I really hope to see you soon in a Amiibo collection video. But regardless, I will see you guys in the next one.